Hey everyone, it's TheAngryHoneyBadger here. It is time for patch notes. It is patch 4.5, and with me today, obviously, we're gonna have Kyle. Kyle, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing pretty good myself. As we always say with patch notes, these are a little bit longer, so grab a drink, grab some chips, hang out. It's gonna be awesome.
Popcorn.
Popcorn. It's like a movie, but better. This is patch notes 4.5. This is what they call a mid-season patch. Now, you might think the season just started, but technically we're kind of halfway into LCS. That's their season. And this is a mid-season patch, so there's some big changes in it, so it's actually pretty important to know what's happening, or else you might be quite lost. So let's just go ahead and dive right on into the patch. We're going to skip what they're calling a summary. We're going to go over all that, so we don't need to cover that. So we'll get straight to gameplay updates, which starts off with Rengar. Now, the first things that are happening with him are his rework, really, is going to happen. So what's happening is they're changing him. This has been kind of known about for a long time, actually, but now officially it's happening. They've been working quite hard to get it changed. So going over general stuff, health per level, a little bit more. He gets 5 more there. Nothing big there. His passive, Unseen Predator, the stealth on that is from the beginning of the leap now instead of while he's mid-leap, so there's a tiny change there. On his Q, which is Savagery, this has got different cooldowns now. It's a little bit shorter. It also has a little bit less base damage, but does scale better as it scales with attack damage. So later on, it's going to be scaling up to those numbers. We'll see how that works. Now, it has removed the attack speed buff that it originally had, and the basic attacks buff window is 3 seconds for a basic attack buff window. And then removed the utility for the ability to use it on structures. So that one I think is kind of interesting, to be honest. But
Yeah, it kind of changes his kit around because like you could just split push with Rengar and he could take turrets really, really fast because of his double or used to be triple Q.
yeah.
And now it was a little ridiculous when you got a pretty fed Rengar and he was just like 4-shotting turrets.
Trinity Force and 4-shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of damage. So they're changing that, so you can't do that anymore. On Empowered Savagery, the Empowered ability one, it scales harder, basically, kind of. The damage is a little bit different, but it scales with base damage more. The attack speed buff on that is just a tiny bit different. It's based on level. Attack speed buff duration is unchanged, which is 5 seconds. And then the attack damage buff is new, and it's 10% of attack damage for 5 seconds. So it's just going to be slightly different. Just damage numbers moving around a little. On the Battle Roar, which is the W, what's happening there is the cooldown is set to 12 seconds at all ranks. It has been unchanged with its damage. The bonus armor and magic resist, though, on that is going to change. It's going to be a little bit less. Bonus and magic resistance duration is up, though, for 1 more second longer on that. And then it has a new utility. Bonus armor and magic resist increases by 50% per enemy champion or large monster. So there's no cap to this either. So there's a big fight in the jungle and everybody's there. You're getting a better deal out of it. Basically, it's to promote him to be able to jump into a fight with people and him get some bonus resists out of the deal instead of jumping in and becoming melted immediately. So slight change on it, but I think this actually does make some sense. Like
I feel like they're making him more of like he's no longer like a big assassin. He's more of a prolonged fight kind of champion.
Prolonged
is what
fight
I feel.
assassin. Like
Yeah,
they still want him to get in there to go hit that target, but him to be a slightly safer since he can't really leap like Kha'Zix can in and out. Like Kha'Zix can go and kill or get the reset and jump out. Rengar doesn't do that, so he needs a little more survivability.
they're increasing all of his buffs by at least a second on most of them.
Yeah.
Like on most of his abilities. So I feel like they just want him to do a little bit more for a longer, or a little bit less for a longer period of time.
Yeah. Yep. And then on the empowered side of that, it's going to have better damage scaling, or base damage. It's just better there. Minimal heal is actually just changed. It's 12 plus 4 times level, and then max heal is 75, which is actually better. So the max heal is better, minimum heal is worse. So it just scales. It has a broader scaling effect. Well, it just, it's to make him even throughout the game is kind of how the numbers look there. Next is his E, which is his Bolt Strike. It is now a skill shot instead of a targeted ability. That's probably the biggest change up front.
Yep.
Cooldown is the same at all ranks now, so that doesn't scale weird at all. The damage on it is about the same. It starts a little lower, but actually goes a little bit higher, and it's the same ratio. Its range is a lot bigger, though. So
Like
that's
double.
another. Yeah, it's almost twice the size now. Movement speed slow is actually higher now, and movement speed slow duration is still the same. So no changes there really. But one thing that they have done is when it's the empowered one, what's happening here is it's gonna scale a little bit lower to a lot higher actually. So it's gonna deal more damage, and its root duration is actually almost doubled. So it's 1.75 seconds now, which but it's a skill shot, which is why they've made it longer, because if you land this at a pretty max range, that's gonna be awesome for you. So just a change.
It's also gonna make you actually think about using your empowered, like empowerment on Bola Strike instead of your Q when you gank, if you're gonna use them in the jungle.
Because if you were gonna just pretty much
'Cause at one
slow them every time guarantee, you're just gonna use your Q and get off the massive hit.
Yeah.
But now you can rely on your teammates. If
2
you-
seconds stun is pretty, or 2 second root is a pretty long time.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this actually in the future got nerfed, because if we look at a similar champion in style-wise, to roots would be Elise with her, and they just made the duration of that lower, and hers is a skill shot too. So this is gonna be maybe slightly similar. We'll see.
But this one goes forever compared to that. I don't feel like Elise's. I think Elise's is probably like 600, 700 range.
Yeah, so this one's a lot longer. So we'll see if this gets touched in the future. And then his ultimate, which is Thrill of the Hunt, is actually quite different. Taking a look at that, the cooldown on it is actually a little bit less early. Rengar only gains movement speed while moving towards enemy champions, similar to a Vayne passive kind of thing. Movement speed bonus is actually 15 at all levels instead of it going up and being a little bit higher. New utility though, after breaking stealth, Rengar is now going to gain additional movement speed for 5 seconds. So that'll actually be helpful while he comes out of it and can continue to chase. After breaking stealth, he also gains 1 ferocity per second for 5 seconds. So it's going to keep refilling that while he's in the fight. And then he also, with the new utility, targets are alerted when Rengar is within 1,000 range and is stealth, but do not gain vision of him. So basically, they'll get a very slight warning that he is in the area, but they don't get to see him like when Eve starts to appear.
I wonder at what range does this new utility take over where he gains movement speed when moving towards enemy champions? Because I feel like that's a pretty big nerf. Because before you could just like run all over the map when you were stealthed, you could make it.
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, but like I 15%. This kind of goes back into what we already said about him being a prolonged fighter instead of just that one burst target. With the movement speed afterwards, just to stickability a little bit. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see how this plays out. I think he'll be a little bit underpowered when he first comes out.
A lot of Rango Tango fans are not happy about the changes to him. I wouldn't have put him in a terrible place, but I don't know. I can see what Riot wants to do with him. So
well, I'm surprised that they didn't like touch the vision range on your R. Like when you go into your stealth, you gain vision over really so long, and that's a huge yeah, that's a huge thing when you're playing in, ranked queues or whatever, when you can see the entire team and know where they are and pick off one person or
I was about
get your
to
team
get
in a position.
by blah blah blah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big deal, and I'm surprised that they didn't touch that, but I would imagine that he can still be used as like a tank as well, kind of.
I think he could evolve better into the tank, like a really hard bruiser tank. So maybe that's where he'll move. We'll see though when people start playing it. Next though, we have the Bone Tooth Necklace. Now this is different. It's not a basic item anymore. It's now a trinket, which might sound confusing because it is to me. Different versions of the warding totem, basically. It's free now.
I think when he buys Warding Totem, Scrying Orb, or Sweeping Lens, he'll get the Bone Tooth Necklace. And so you'll be able to use, if I understand this right, you'll be able to use that ward or that Scrying Orb or that Sweeping Lens, but then you'll still gain the passives that they have.
Which actually makes sense because I've seen the Bone Tooth Necklace images, all of them, and they're different colors, and the colors were based off of the other trinkets. So...
What, green, yellow, and
blue,
yellow,
red, and
blue.
Yeah. So, okay, so back to that. You get 1 stack per killer assist. The death penalty's been removed. The bonus attack damage isn't 5 anymore, and you don't get that anymore. 3 trophies, there's no bonus there. 6, there's no bonus there. 9, there's no bonus. But 12, you get 5 seconds added to Thrill of the Hunt duration. And then the 14 one's been removed. But at 20, Thrill of the Hunt movement speed bonus doubled to 30%. Tier 3 vision active. Warding totem vision grants greater stealth totem active. Essentially,
like
what they're doing here is saying it's not going to benefit you early.
In terms of, well, it's not going to benefit you in terms of like battle stats either.
Yeah.
It's like all movement speed and Thrill of the Hunt duration. Like it's
more like a fun little add-on to his kit.
Yeah,
because you're going to basically automatically get it, and you don't lose any stacks when you die. So basically, as the game progresses, you'll eventually get the 12 and 20 bonuses, and you won't have to worry about it. Basically, this will eventually happen. You'll get them sooner, obviously, if you're getting more kills and assists, but until then, it doesn't really affect you in any way.
I'll be interested to see, do you still get your stacks if you like, because I know that I get a warding totem at the beginning of the game and switch to a sweeping lens. I'll be interested to see if you maintain your trophies.
I'm guessing you don't, which sounds,
that would be dumb.
I know, it sounds stupid to me. I hope you do, but just based off of stupid things ever happening, I bet it doesn't, but who knows. But that's Rengar. Next, we actually have Gragas. And this is about time, really. We talked about this a little bit last time. They want to change some things about him and make him what he really should be as a champion, portrayed in the way he should be. So, first off, magic resist per level is going up. Movement speed is going down. Passively, his happy hour, he's going to get 4% max health instantly instead of the 2% over 4 seconds. It's got a longer cooldown, though. Or no, it's got a cooldown on it now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. So you can't just proc it constant.
Correct.
But that's a pretty big amount instantly, which is awesome. His Q ability now has a movement speed slow. Blah blah blah. It scales. The cooldowns are unchanged. Its mana is cheaper. Its range is a tiny bit less. Its base damage is a bit lower, and its ability power ratio has been cut by a third. The attack speed slow is no longer a part of it, but until now, but actually now it has a new utility where the damage and slow increase up by 50% over 2 seconds as the barrel sits out before detonation. So if it sits there.
Okay, so those are base numbers.
Yes.
So if someone's just dumb enough to walk over it, but like if you use it just immediately, like you see a lot of Gragases use your Q, it's gonna change. It's more of a utility spell now than a damage ability, I feel.
It kind of is, but I think they want this to team up with something coming out.
Okay.
So we'll get to that in a second. The Drunken Rage, which is his W, the cooldown for it is getting like just cut in like crazy amounts. It was 25 at all ranks, now it's 8 to down to 6, so it's up way more. Still has no mana cost. Gragas' next attacks are actually going to deal damage plus ability power plus percentage of the target's maximum health as bonus damage. This is where they're moving a lot of the power of his kit, which is why we'll see the numbers everywhere else get cut down. What they're doing here is the duration on it's only 3 seconds instead of 20 seconds of that prolonged time. It's a lot shorter now, but there's a lot of damage there. Like 140 plus 3%, like what if you have 300 AP, which isn't that much, so there's 30. So there's 190 plus 12% of their health, maximum health. Like that's a lot of damage actually on a standard attack.
That's ridiculous.
So what they're doing is they're moving him into an actual mage tank. They don't want him to be a caster because everybody just uses him as casting because they just rely on his Q and his ultimate to blow up somebody.
Yeah.
They want him to be a big, fat, drunken guy who actually would be hard to take out. So they want you to build him beefier and they want him up in your face. So that's kind of the general changes behind this.
You could almost build him straight tank because 12% of maximum health
is a lot. And that's why I said like mage tank, not just like bruiser mage, like mage tank.
You could probably get away with just building
get a rod
tank.
And then go tank.
Yeah.
But then Gragas now can now move at 80% movement speed while drinking. So he actually can drink on the walk instead of standing still.
And he gains.
The attack buffs and the mana buffs are no longer there, but that's because the rest of the ability is different. So that's his Drunken Rage, and that's, if you're wondering like what the hell they do that for, that's what they're doing. They want him in the front line instead of standing back and just poking only with barrels. Like he can still poke with barrels, and it'll still help him like sieging and stuff like that. But they don't want him to just be like, oh, I hit him with a Q, I'm gonna toss an ultimate and finish him off like a 2-shot.
So basically, his utility that came on his Q, his new Q, is just to allow him to gap close now.
Yes.
I get it. That's, I don't know. But that could be 12% of maximum HP.
We'll see what happens. It's still, they need to move some of his damage somewhere else because more's coming up, I think. But Body Slam's next. Cooldown duration is actually going to be a little bit higher, and it'll scale down to 12. Mana cost is actually cheaper. Base damage is actually higher, and the ability power ratio is actually higher. But this is to get him into position to do those standard attacks. So this is why the damage is shifted to this. It's telling him to move into the fight if he wants the damage. Think of him as like a non-dodging skill Fizz. He has to get on top of somebody. But the ratios he gets will help him involved. The attack damage ratio is no longer there.
And a 1-second stun? What? And a knockback?
Yeah, so when he just kind of plops into people when he actually lands it. So cooldown reduced by 3 seconds with a unit collision. So slight change. That's his Body Slam. And then obviously his Explosive Cask, which is his ultimate. It's unchanged for its cooldown and its mana costs. Its base damage is going to be cut down a little bit, and so is the ability power ratio. The rest of it's the same, but once again, damage being removed from the ultimate and the Q, which were the poke devastation things, and they moved it to the W and the E, making him get into the fight. We'll see how this affects him. People still might try to play him as a mage, just with
if you can use his combo correctly. I think he's going to be even worse than he was. Like even more explosive. Because like if you can ult someone back into you and then body slam them while you have Drunken Rage up, that's going to be like...
That's what they want you to do.
100% of someone's health.
He'll be like a single target assassin almost. As weird as that sounds. Because like I think he'll actually become less of a poke bully in lane, but when he actually engages on you in lane, it's going to suck if you get stuck with the ultimate or if you get body slammed. Like the 1v1 for you is going to be really unfortunate. Play it Ari and get the hell out of there or something. But during team fights, it's going to be a little bit harder for him based off of what he builds. Like if he goes tanky, then he'll be okay, I would think, or slightly better. But if he just still kind of does a kind of standard half mage, but pretty much magey build, he won't ever find himself in the middle of a fight because he's going to kill himself. So you'll have to be a lot more careful with him. You just can't sit only throwing Qs. So it's a big change. I like the ideas behind it though, because it makes sense for the character type. Like he's a big drunken dude who like is like bar fighter. Like he shouldn't just be poking people with barrels. He should get in there and do some damage. So that's where the changes have come. Moving down to champions, since the reworks took a while. Let's just go ahead and start off with a global stat change. And this is for the rune changes coming up later in the patch notes, because we'll get to those. Base armor of all champions is being increased by 4. So all champions have more armor, which personally I like. This helps out some of those mages who don't have armor, or some of those supports where 4 armor is helpful. So I like it. Although it'll be affected by something else, but we'll get to it. Anivia, Glacial Storm, now deals a tick of damage when canceled.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because before if you canceled it at the wrong time, you'd get like lose out. You'd be using mana and lose out on a full tick of damage, which was pretty substantial in Glacial Storm.
That's pretty much all though with Anivia. Fiddlesticks. His passive Dread no longer affects champions who cannot see Fiddlesticks.
It's actually really good for Fiddlesticks. In
Super
my opinion.
helpful. Well, wait, no.
Well, now because people can't before you would just have the circle underneath you and you could see when he was around you, and now he can get into positions and alt over walls and stuff without you knowing that he's there just because of that stupid passive.
Are we thinking of something different?
Doesn't he get the... Because you can see the little mark
No,
on...
you know what his passive is, right?
Doesn't he... Oh, no, I'm thinking of something else.
You're thinking of something else. I'm going to say you're confusing me. Okay, his passive is he gets 10%... Or just 10... Is it 10 or 10%? Anyways, you get 10 magic penetration. So if you can't see Fiddlesticks and he's dealing damage to you, he doesn't get the passive.
I'm saying it's Soraka.
So if he... Yeah, I was going to say. I was like, that's not right. So basically, if he's ulting and he's in the bush and you can't see the Crow Storm, You're not getting the extra magic pen from him. So basically he loses out on a slight stack. I don't think this will really affect people too much, to be honest. Or like if he fears you from a bush and starts draining you, although you should have vision on him, shouldn't you? I don't know. It's weird. I don't think this will affect him too much anyways. We're moving on. It's just different. But that's what it is. Kyle was wrong.
Who plays Fiddlesticks?
Who plays Fiddlesticks? Okay, next we have Graves. They're fixing him, finally. Quick Draw, the mana on that is going to actually be a little bit cheaper, which is good for him in lane. And then Collateral Damage is going to have better scaling. It's 1.5 now instead of 1.4. And the Explosive Damage is going to have a higher base at its lower cost ranks. Because it just doesn't do any freaking damage at all. Which is why Graves is the least played right now. Like, he's got to be one of the least played ADCs. He doesn't deal any damage. So
I still think they need to they just need to buff it a little bit more. I don't think that's going to be enough.
They could give him I think 10 attack range, and that would just fix him slightly.
Yeah. Like
he's got no range, and right now range is pretty helpful unless you have a lot of other good things or lots of damage. The only thing they do about that is the fact that he has his good passive, but he needs more. So this will help put him on a better track. I look forward to actually playing this to see how it works, because he needed more early game damage. He just didn't have any. Next, we have Rengar. Some changes to him. First off, they've been tweaking him back and forth ever since his slight rework. The turrets now are a little bit differently.
Ridiculous.
They do less base damage, but they scale slightly better. Beam damage, though, on them is going to also be scaled base damage-wise and scale a little bit better. Beam cooldown is also a tiny bit longer. And then the huge turret for his ultimate, what is happening on that is its ability power ratio is coming down, and so is its base damage. Didn't they just buff all the turrets? Now they're just kind of bringing them back a tiny bit?
Well, I think...
Was that last patch?
For the normal queue, not the ultimate queue, when you could just set up 3 turrets in lane, like you couldn't even get close to it as a mid laner to kill it. And now with the base damage going down, it's going to help that early game, but then it's going to be a problem late game, obviously. So, I don't know. Heimerdinger is a really touchy champion. I don't really feel like he's that good anyway, just because he doesn't have an escape or very much mobility. But he's a lot of fun to play.
He doesn't convert well at team fights either all the time. Unless people just ignore him blatantly. But if he has turrets down, they usually die to all the AoE. And he usually, his cooldowns don't really help him too much. And like you said, he can't move around in the fight too well. He's kind of a side pusher to me.
I do like that they took away the beam charge. I think it was last patch when they instituted that they spawn with a beam charge, because I don't know how many times they just threw down an empowered Q or whatever it's called, an alted Q, and it just shoot me for 1500 damage.
It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And that is the changes to him. That's all they're doing. Next, we do have the Zix. Void Assault, casting Flash, no longer breaks Void Stealth. Interesting.
Will you still see the animation for Flash, though?
I don't know. We'll have to see if that's what happens. Is Evolved E, they removed the damage reduction, reducing turret damage. Okay, weird. Apparently
that way you can't just turret dive when you have active camouflage evolved.
It's more of a bug.
Yeah.
That's fine. Next is a Re-Ascend. Okay, if anybody ever heard us talking about the massive Lee Sin change that they were going to do, because the community spoke up so loudly about it, they're deciding not to quite do those changes yet. But they're going to still be changing some things around, just not as harshly as they talked about. So first off is a safeguard. The cooldown on it is going to be increased. Cooldown reduction by 50% if it's cast on an ally champion. Basically, you don't get to use it as much if you're using it on wards and minions. Basically, you get rewarded for using it on your friends.
Yeah, but there's no shield to it. Oh, on a non-cast. Okay.
On non-cast champ on units.
So basically, that's useless because that's kind of.
It's only supposed to be now. It's only used for that one mobility if you don't want to.
Yeah,
use it.
but that removed thing is kind of just. It's not really necessary because they already changed it, so you couldn't shield minions. So all that's doing is taking a shield off a ward. Yeah. Essentially,
well,
isn't it?
Well, it's basically, and he doesn't get the shield then too.
Really?
I don't think you get the shield if you just use it as an escape.
Yeah.
I'm not positive. Don't quote me. But they like the idea behind Safeguard, but they think it's a little bit too strong and overused. I mean, think about how every single time he gets out of something, it's because of that, and it's always because of that, and it's not on that long of a cooldown.
Well, like if you cast it on,
they didn't intend it to be part of his kit. Is their argument?
Now it's gonna be shorter cooldown because you're gonna get half the. Yeah, it's only gonna be 7 seconds if you use it on a champion. I don't know.
Anyways,
but it'll be interesting to see. I don't.
Yeah, the shield duration is also 1 second shorter. I don't think that's too huge of a thing. The initial, I think the initial having the shield was kind of the big thing.
Yeah, but that's more about the lifesteal, don't you think? The bringing down because like before in the jungle, you could just cast double cast W and then you get your lifesteal and stuff.
Well, then maybe they think he's getting too much in lane, and that's why they're taking it off. Because in lane, if it's on that short of a cooldown, it means you could do it every 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Like it's strong in certain aspects. I think they just want to tweak his safeguard at this point. And then Iron Will is on his W. Also, just to be with that. I don't know. I don't think this is going to ruin his kit, obviously.
No, not at all. Not compared to what they were going to do, no.
Yeah, what they were going to do is going to be absurd. So this, I think, for people who were afraid of the huge change, just take this with a grain of salt that this is only as bad as it got, because it could have been a hell of a lot worse.
I think it's still going to get worse.
And
I think they're just, instead of just like dropping it all at once, they're just going to do it over time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't play Lee Sin, so I don't really care. So
I do play Lee Sin, and I care.
I know you do. I'm sorry, Kyle. I don't hate Lee Sin. I just don't enjoy him. Don't know why. Just never did.
You don't like the people that play Lee Sin.
That's pretty much the reason. It's the people. Next, we got Leona. Base health regen is going down a tiny bit, but her Eclipse is also going down a tiny bit. Leona is kind of a super support right now in the tank stats, although I feel like she's fallen off a lot lately.
She's just
because everybody's playing
initiation.
Yeah, but everybody's playing Morgana now with her shield, or people have figured out how to get around Leona, I think, a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
well, in my opinion, Leona, actually, you could do rather well against Morgana just because your stun was on such a short cooldown that you could just switch targets when she like black shields the AD carry, then you could just switch over to her.
That's called bait.
But like, yeah, but Thresh can't do that. Like Thresh is like, he has his one ability.
Yeah.
So Morgana's actually better countered at Thresh, I feel, than Leona, but Morgana's just good right now.
Yeah.
I hate her.
I don't have too many problems with her, although I've been taking Zyra against her, so whatever.
That'd be good.
Plants OP. But that's Leona. Slight change. Honestly, I don't think it's self-factor. Do you think it'll touch her too much? I don't think it's... No. It's just change. She should be fine. Next is Lulu. I'll summarize that. We didn't think she'd be a mid laner. So... her
yeah, that's basically what they're saying.
Her E ability, which is only 4 seconds now for the duration, and they removed it on minion cast. Minion doesn't gain a shield. People are using it to tank turrets. Base damage also on this is coming down a lot at later ranks, so it doesn't.
Well, can you even?
Why the hell would a support
can you even cast it?
Damage?
Can you even cast it on a minion now?
Yes.
You can.
Yeah, just I don't think the minion gains a shield.
Because I felt like that's what was super strong in the mid lane. They just like shield a forward minion and then cast Q. And you poke someone from the entire lane away. It was ridiculous.
I don't know. Once again, this is one of those things where they didn't really specify. It says removed minion cast, but then it says minion gains a shield.
Yeah.
So maybe. If it doesn't, then she's going to have to actually work a little bit harder, which is fine.
Well, I feel like if she can't do that, she'll move back to just support only.
Or she'll actually have to exchange damage when she wants to deal that.
I'm surprised they didn't touch her movement speed scaling, because that's super strong.
Yeah. But this is just a small cheek tweak to her. She should still be fine, obviously, as a support. But just as a mage, it's going to take her numbers down a tiny bit. Next, we have El Misfortune, also known as Slutty Pirate Whore.
Whoa.
It's an accurate statement.
It is. Touché.
Passive, Strut, new utility, bonus movement speed, now displayed on the buff icon. Hooray! Her Q, this is actually cool if you saw any of this stuff. If anybody ever gets confused why I also look to the right, it's because a big picture of Kyle's here, but you're actually down to my left. So I'd have to... This is funny every time I do that. Anyways, double up. Q. Cooldown is actually going to be shorter on it. The mana cost is actually going to be less on it. The first target base damage is going to be lower, but the ratio scales better. The second target base damage is going to be slightly lower, but it does scale also better. I think it doesn't state it here, but you actually like can control it where it goes now. Did you see that?
Can you?
Yeah, like picture your misfortune, and here's your unit, and then you have like a cone after it, so you can kind of project the cone where you want it off the queue, like ranged cone.
Okay.
I don't know if they're implementing it yet, but that's what they want to do with it, so you can kind of control where the bounce shot will go.
That'll be interesting, because if that's the case and it's that low a cooldown,
Yeah, you're gonna be
'cause
bouncing.
that's what you max out first.
Yeah.
You're gonna get it at 5 or like 4 or 5 seconds before. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a big hit to damage, but at the same time, if you can control the second shot, then you just shoot the support.
It'll become a skill thing. If you can use it correctly, it'll probably work for you. W, impure shots. Mana cost is actually going to start lower and then scale up to 50 instead of being base 50. Bonus damage per stack is just 0.06 attack damage. They're taking out the ability power scaling, which is unnecessary. Attack speed buff is going to actually start lower, but you get more at the very end of it. So if you want more attack speed, you can always do that. And then the wound duration is only 2 seconds instead of 3.
That should be good.
Yeah,
I like that change. Because it helps your scale.
No more AP MF probably. We'll get to the next parts too. But Make It Rain, cooldown on that is actually going to be lower and get lower, which is good. Movement speed slow on that is actually going to be higher, so it's better slow duration on that. And that's pretty much it. More closely matches the area of effect instead of just kind of random rain.
Isn't that AP as well? Why didn't they change that to AD?
I think it's AD.
Is it?
Is it not AD?
I don't know.
It's all you. You get to check it. And then next is her ultimate, which is bullet time. New utility.
It is AP.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's 80% AP.
Well, that's interesting.
That's strange.
Yeah, whatever. She buys a Sheen. High five.
Yeah.
New utility passively increases the stack cap on impure shot to 6, 7, and 8. The base damage per bullet is lower at lower ranks, but scales to the same. And the total base damage is lower at lower ranks. I don't think a lot of people realize this, and I don't know why, but she hasn't been changed at all since the beginning of Season 3. And Season 3 MF was stupid strong.
That's because of Black Cleaver. Black Cleaver used to be super OP at the beginning.
I think my
Season
build actually
3.
has Black Cleaver in it because it was so stupid. But that's slightly different.
But it now applies and procs the damage of impure shots. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it doesn't apply Grievous Runes.
So yeah.
It's going to be better late game.
Yes,
Like,
because late game everybody's just using it as wave clear.
Yeah.
Like as most ADCs use their ultimates as wave clear. So slightly different, really. I don't think this will really change it too much. Bonus attack damage ratio has been removed though, but that's because each bullet applies that stack.
Yeah, and now it's attack damage.
Attack damage. So. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So yeah, it's better. I think it'll be better.
Early game Renekton nerfs.
Early game Renekton nerfs are next. I
guess.
Not really early.
Kind of.
Level 6 early? It's still early.
Yeah.
His ultimate. Basically, the health he gets is not as much early, but it's better late. But this is the problem with Renekton. He's not good early. He's too good early. He's too terrible late. Magic damage per tick, a little bit lower early, a lot higher late.
Hopefully that evens them out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, which is needed.
But I just think his combo needs to be. He's kind of like in a Thresh thing where you'd have to change his kit, like change one of his abilities, so he can't dash in, stun you, spin, dash out.
Yes, pretty much. Yes.
So I think that this is a good way to scale down.
Just part of
early
game
damage. Yeah.
And help him with late stuff, because his late is terrible. Like, if you actually do get to one of those like 50, 60 minute long games, you're full build Renekton, you get into a fight and you don't really do anything. You're like, I don't have any more health or damage. This should help. So, good.
Scood.
Twisted Fate. Pick a card. Card selection window is now only 6 seconds. But the card use window is now 6 seconds from 4, so it's slightly longer. Overall, if it takes you 8 seconds to pick a card, I'm sorry. You have wasted too much time.
Yeah.
Personally, yeah. But now you can wait just a tiny bit longer to use it, which actually might be nice because I remember sometimes you're like, oh, I got it, but I need 1 more second. Here's your 2 more seconds. So, Twisted Fate. Also, a lot of people are complaining he's super weak and that the changes to Lich Bane make him even weaker. I've seen some Twisted Fates recently. They've been doing just fine. Suck it up, grow a pair, play Twisted Fate.
I like the 2-second increase on the card use though, because it allows him to pick a card before he starts his, like before he teleports. Before you had to get it like right before, or else you lost it. So
True.
I think it makes his alt usage a little bit easier for newer players.
Yeah, that might help a tiny bit.
So.
And then Wukong is next. He is saying some changes. His Crushing Blow is going to not have 30% armor shred. It's going to actually scale up to 30%. It's a lot early to deal with, especially in lane. And then his Cyclone, the attack damage ratio on that is not going to be 1.2 per second and 4.8 total. It's going to go 1.1 to 4.4, which also probably is a good change just because that does so much damage and can effectively deal 1,200 damage to 5 champions each.
Yep.
So
hit all of them, yeah.
It's a lot of damage. And
It's
I'm
good.
surprised they've never touched that before because he does so much damage.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took him that long to get into viability.
Yeah. Oh,
But-
God. Oh, God.
Yes, Ziggs nerfs.
Oh, Zig's getting nerfed. His attack range is slightly lower. Oh, thank God that's the only thing.
25 in the mid lane though is
It's pretty helpful, obviously, for
it's
others.
pretty big, yeah.
That's pretty big. Damn it. I like Ziggs. Anyways, minor bug fixes. Do we want to minor bug fixes? Ari's dead. Oh yeah, Orb comes back to Ari when she dies. Blitzcrank, bug fix on Thresh's Lantern. Cataclysm, the walled area is now centered on Jarvan as target instead of just awkwardly, because that was a little bit. Jinx, Super Mega Death Rocket, now goes on cooldown when Jinx finishes firing rather than when she begins firing. That's just a small fix. If Jinx dies during firing it, it will no longer go on cooldown. So that's also helpful. Malzahar, the passes on Voidling, attack, different things. It has a priority system, slightly different. So you can read into that if you want. It's not too...
No one plays Malzahar.
Yeah, also true. Not in meta. Can't stand still to all people. Unless you're Xerath. Nami. General recommended updated items, but that doesn't matter. You should go watch my build. Pantheon now blocks any attack on a siege minion or large minion, even if it doesn't have 40 deal threshold, whatever. Talon. Utility. Flash no longer breaks the Shadow Assault stealth. So that's kind of like what they're doing with the Kha'Zix thing.
I wonder if you get the flash animation still.
Yeah, well...
Gosh, that's going to be a big thing.
We'll have to figure that out. Also, secretly OP.
Who, Talon?
Yeah. All right.
We shall see.
I'm bringing it back.
You're bringing it back.
The Honey Badger coming soon. Next, we have items. These are some big ones, so pay attention. Revitalize. Blue trinkets. As stated by Riot, still in the process of making blue trinkets less sad. Maybe it's the color. It's true.
Because they're bad.
Scrying Orb is freaking terrible. That they're increasing the duration and the range on it at all levels. So it's 2 seconds long. And it's got better range. Still won't buy it. But that's what they're doing to that.
I think they need to make it so you can use that like multiple times.
More often.
For 2 minutes.
More often.
Like, I think it should become
30
like,
seconds.
You should be able to use it right when you buy it, and then you can use it like 45 seconds later. So you can
invade.
So I actually might take it instead of a ward in the beginning.
Yes. Also, actually, I wouldn't even be sad if they took the duration back down to 1 or even a half second, but just let you use it like
constantly. Like every like 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah, like every like. Not even that long. Like, not even that short. Like, 30 seconds. Like, it's like, you know, it's stupid. Anyways, still don't use it, basically. If you're buying it, I'm sorry. Spirit of the Elder Lizard sees a slight change. Just the damage amplification versus monsters is going down a little bit. They've still tried to fix this item many times. It's been a strong item for a long time on the damage dealers. So that doesn't...
slow down Pantheon and Wukong, though. Hopefully, a little bit.
We'll see. Next, we finally do get the addition of the Pharaoh Flare. We talked about this last week, or last patch. The Pharaoh Flare is now built from a Wriggle's Lantern upgrade. It actually auto-upgrades. After killing 25 large monsters, it will give you plus 15 attack damage, plus 35 attack speed. These are its just normal stats off of the other thing. It doesn't give those additionally. Basic damage deal 100 damage, reduced by 67% against champions, and heal 10 on hit. Kills, assists, and large minion kills increase its damage by 3 and heal by 1. Unique passive, 30% gold for killing monsters, so same thing from the lantern. Unique active places a stealth ward in the surrounding area for 180 seconds, same as its cooldown. And ward cast range greatly increases versus normal ward cast range. So it kind of has a fun new cast range on it.
I'd be interested to see the numbers between Wriggle's Lantern gold per minute over like one of the Spirit Stone items, gold.
I've never seen it before.
I wonder how it stacks up like after like a 20-minute or 25-minute game of farming.
My original theory with the 30% more gold from killing monsters on Lantern at the beginning of the season, my original thought on that was, yes, if you get ahead and you can buy that item super fast, because you'll cash out on it for the rest of laning phase while you're jungling. But if you can't get it fast and you end up buying your full boots and Vamp Scepter or something else, like, then you pick it up at level 10, like you're too far gone. You're way too late. You're not going to get enough bonus gold from those monster kills. So I think Feral Flare is the same. Like, I might be testing this out on Xin Xiao and trying to go get like first blood kill in lane and going back and buying it immediately, like, because it evolves from Lantern, so you just have to buy Lantern, which Lantern's the cheapest of the jungling items. So if you can get this to
isn't it like 500 gold cheaper or something? It's a lot, isn't it?
It's a good amount of gold cheaper. Like, if you wanted to skip out on your boots, or like, if you want to just get like your Lantern, you probably get it fairly quick. Like maybe a couple minion camps and a first blood, like level 4. Like, it might be possible, and then this will upgrade. So if you can get the upgrade faster, you get the gold faster, you get the updates faster, you get the more damage faster, and the heal better. So this will be a kind of like a early game Rolling Stone. So
I think it's a, like what you were saying, is good to skip out on boots, because I think movement speed right now is overrated in jungle, just because so many of the junglers have gap closes.
They do.
That you don't really need that movement speed. So I would suggest, even if you weren't going to buy Wriggle's Lantern early, just like skipping out on boots until you get your jungling item, just so you can start cashing in on all the gold.
I like getting the first half of my boots early on certain junglers, but yeah.
Boots 1?
Boots 1. But with movement speed increases at the beginning of the season, like, that's not that big of a difference when somebody has like 25 extra movement speed. But your junglers typically are a little bit quicker than ADCs and such. So like an ADC has first half of their boots and they're moving at 360, and you haven't bought your boots yet as a jungler, but you have movement speed quince, you're at 355. Like, you're barely slower. That doesn't matter. So you should be fine. Feral Flare might be good again. Thank you for making the acorn maybe an item. We shall see.
Put lifesteal back on.
Put lifesteal back on it. Take it back to season 2. 18% lifesteal, 25 attack damage, 30 armor, and the chance to hit minions and kill them easily, and a ward. Oh god, that was so good. Support itemization and build paths. Slight changes, and when I say slight changes, new items.
Yeah.
Prepare. We have the Wisp. I hit the P hard on that. That was awesome. Recipe is an amplifying tome plus 550 gold, 950 total cost, 30 ability power, and 5% movement speed. This now teamed up with a Sheen, and gold is now what the new Lich Bane is. So instead of a blasting wand, cost of it's unchanged. Twin Shadows, I think they've ruined it.
You think they ruined it? Oh my god, it's 400 gold more?
Yeah. It's the Wisp and a Codex, and it costs 400 gold more. It's been removed from Crystal Star and Crystal Tree Line. It gives you 10% cooldown reduction now, which is cool. I'm okay with that.
Ability power?
And it does it does give you more ability power, but the problem is they took the magic resist off of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the point of buying that item then? It's like, it's now just an offensive item with little Ghostbusters.
Sorry, I didn't mean it's removed from the Crystal Scar and Twisted Tree Line. Just the build path of it. It's still there with a shorter cooldown. New utility, though. If the ghost fails to find the target, they attempt to return to the caster. Each ghost that successfully returns to a caster reduces the cooldown of the item by 40 seconds. Or 20 seconds if the Crystal Star and Twisted Tree Line.
Who
so
are you going to call?
Ghosts come back.
I don't like it. I agree with you. I don't think that they need to
Basically,
put the
do you
magic
want
resist
cooldown
a little
reduction?
bit.
Yeah, do you want cooldown reduction and 30 AP, or do you want 40 magic resist? I want the
Well,
magic
first off,
resist.
who's playing normal mode right now when Earth's out? So we don't need cooldown reduction.
True.
So bring back the magic resist.
Yeah, I don't like that change. Whatever. Next is a new item. It's called the Forbidden Idol. Fairy Charm plus 390 gold gets you 8 mana regen per 5 seconds and 10% cooldown reduction. This is now part of the new Morellonomicon. Love saying that word.
Talisman. Ooh.
Yes, so now Morellonomicon is a finished codex and a Forbidden Idol plus 630 gold. The total cost is unchanged, and the item stats are the same. It's just a new item built into it. Talisman of the Ascension, though, now is now a Nomad's Medallion, and then the Forbidden Idol plus 585 gold. The cost is actually higher, but you get more mana regen from the item, so that kind of makes up for it a tiny bit. Also, I think this will just actually help you a little bit more early building into Ascension. So, because it's got cooldown reduction early.
I don't mean to be looking ahead, but the 200 gold was kind of freaking me out at first, but then they did the same thing to
else.
Yeah,
I know.
the other two support items. So
yes.
It's pretty much even.
Next, we have the Frost Queen's bullshit. I mean, Frost Queen. This item's super powerful right now, in case anybody's wondering.
Real strong. Take it.
Costs are going up, but it gets a little bit more ability power. I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
It's a good
I'll
item.
take that trade every day.
Yeah. Face of the Mountain is gold costs are also going up. Health regen actually is going down a little bit, but base health on it's going up quite a bit. So from 375 to 500. I think that's also kind of an even trade, because if you're going to actually commit to buying the full Face of the Mountain, I would hope it would give you a lot of health, and now it does. So,
well, if you're going to make it 200 gold more, why did you... They either shouldn't have changed the gold cost and raised the health and lowered the health regen, or just left the health regen the same, gave more health. Because basically you're buying a ruby crystal and losing 5 health regen. I don't
think the 5 health regen is going to affect you as much as you think it will.
Yeah, maybe I'm just...
I think I would rather trade out 5 health regen for 125 health.
Yeah.
Like, how long would it take for 5 health regen to regen 125 health?
You're thinking about it in terms of, like, immediate danger, but, like, if you're in lane and you're taking damage, like...
No, I hear you, but having an extra 125 health is pretty helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just me. Anyways, this is one of the best changes in this patch. It's called Will of the Ancients. It no longer has stupid stuff built into it.
Yay, Vladimir!
Yay, Mordekaiser.
Yay, Mordekaiser.
Although Gunblade's awesome on him, so never mind. But it's a revolver and a codex plus gold, and now you get
80
more.
ability.
Yeah, you get 80 AP, which is helpful because 50 was crap. You wouldn't buy it because you're like, I want more AP. And then you had mana regen for all the non-mana regen champions. They're like, well, Mord, Kennen, Vlad. None of them wanted to buy it anymore because that's a wasted stat.
If you, like, before they changed it,
yeah,
who were the champions that bought Will of the Ancients? It was Mordekaiser, Vladimir, and Kennen.
Yes.
And then they just were like, we don't want this item to be used on these champions. Let's put mana regen on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like this.
And those champions actually have fallen off because of that a little bit. So I might try my old tanky Mord build out again and actually build this.
Repeat or rebirth of Kennen.
Rebirth of Kennen is coming up. Maybe. Next, we have the Aegis of the Legion. Different build path, Rejuve Bead, Ruby Crystal, Negatron Cloak plus 600 gold. You now get 20 additional magic resist, but you don't get armor anymore. Kind of an interesting trade on that. It sounds like they're going back to the Bulwark slightly.
Is it an aura for 20 magic resist?
I don't know.
Because isn't a Negatron Cloak more than 20 magic resist?
That's 20 additional magic resist.
Oh, 20 more than you got previously?
Yeah, I think that's how they're showing it. I think.
What?
Yeah, because now it costs more gold for the locket. You get more health, and you get that additional 20 magic resist, but they remove the armor. It sounds like a Bulwark without armor.
Yeah, it does.
Why did you take Bulwark out of the game? Whatever.
It was OP. You got a Bulwark on every team.
Well, yeah, it's because it was smart buy. It was like, whose jungler can get it first?
Yeah, I agree. I think that when they took out Bulwark, they just basically said we don't want the junglers to be tanky.
Nautilus jungle's coming back.
No.
Yes.
No.
This will help.
No Nautilus.
Oh, it's coming back. Warden's Mail has a different build path now. It's Chain Vest plus 280 gold instead of Cloth Armor 400 gold. I do like this change, actually. I never understood the double cloth.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
It's just now, but you gotta think, like, if you go back and you only have 600 gold, you can't wait for 120 gold to get Chain Vest. So it's gonna be, it's gonna be something where you can't piece together.
It'll stop top lane early power down a little bit, actually. Unless they're ahead, then it'll help them the exact same, pretty much.
This is gonna make you struggle against OP top laners. Jax.
Cough. Glacial Shroud obviously then is going to be slightly different. Same with the Iceborne Gauntlet, because Glacial Shroud will have a different path. Now it's Cloth Armor Crystal instead of Chain Vest. They made it worse because, wait for it, they're making the items worse. But I think they're scaling them back. Really, I don't know if worse is the right word, unless that's the
Frozen
right
Heart's
word.
getting more armor.
But it's going to be cheaper to buy, actually, and it's going to have less armor and less mana.
Attack speed, though, that's kind of big.
Gauntlet actually cost, once again, going down a little bit, and the armor on it's 10 lower, but I don't think that's a huge issue. Frozen Heart now actually has 100 armor. It's more. The cost is cheaper. And the attack speed reduction's 15%. It's not much more. It's a little bit.
I think that's a good trade though. 5 armor for 5 attack speed, because that's
no. You're not even doing it right. It's 5 armor for 5 attack speed off, and 300 gold cheaper.
Yeah, but the 5 attack speed is like 5% attack speed. I feel like is more useful than 5 armor, because you're thinking like champions attack twice per second.
That's fine,
like,
but it's
380 carries.
300 gold
2
cheaper.
attacks. Yeah.
It's the cloth armor cheaper.
Yeah, that's true.
Or a bunch of wards.
Or a bunch of wards.
Or the first half of your next item.
Which people need to buy.
Yes, wards. Still buy wards. Boot enhancements have been changed.
Good.
I don't even really care, to be honest. That one gives you more movement speed. Captain gives you 10% movement speed instead of 8 when moving towards your friends.
I like distortions.
The distortion is kind of the main one to actually talk about. Distortion did get a lot of changes. Increased ghost movement speed by 40% instead of 28. The grants 30% movement speed after for 1 second after using flash, kind of quick. You also get 30% after using teleport for 3 seconds. 30% movement speed.
Oh my god, could you imagine?
TP in and run straight at somebody with home. Oh my god, stupid.
I guess most people just home guard in if they're gonna teleport.
But
so
now you won't have to, because you'll just have distortion.
Yeah.
Because you won't have home guard. Fervor, it's just cheaper.
It's good because there's no reason for it to be
That expensive.
100. Yeah. Like almost 150 more gold than wait. Math is hard.
Math is hard. More gold.
Yeah.
Home guard restores only a portion of missing health and mana for per second instead of instantly. And then the out of combat is 6 seconds instead of 8.
So they basically made it worse.
It's because everybody would only buy home guard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tiny bit worse, but I don't think it honestly will.
And then they're kind of buffing the rest of it, so.
Yeah.
You might think about buying something else.
Yes, true. Next we have runes. They promise rune changes. Here they are. Seals. Armor seals are not going to be 1.41. They're now just 1 for the base ones. So you get 9 armor instead of 12.69. But think of it this way: base armor of all champions has been increased by 4. So you actually get more. Just a tiny bit. But you do get more. So slight change there. Greater Seal of Scaling Armor actually gets a not huge buff, but it gets a buff. So now it's going to scale to 27 instead of 24.3. Greater Health, or Greater Seal of Health, is going to scale more. So instead of getting about 50, you're going to get 72. Better there. Greater Seal of Scaling Health, also there, going better. Instead of 180, you get 216. Greater Seal of Health Regeneration is getting a buff as well. So instead of 3.87, you get 5. So also better there. Glyphs are seeing a slight change. The cooldown reduction glyphs are all getting a buff, basically. Instead of 10%, you get 15%. They're trying to make the numbers make sense now instead of random weird amounts. So 15% there. Scaling Magic Resist, I'm a huge fan of these. These are getting a slight buff too. So you get 27% instead of 24.3. The Mana Regen Seals, which are actually use the scaling ones, which are the next lowest one, are getting a buff as well. So their numbers scale up to 10.8 instead of 8.9. The other ones scale up a little bit to 3 from 2.7. So a little bit of a change there. Quintessences. This is the first. Here's still another one. Cooldown reductions. Once again, getting a buff, 7.5 instead of 5%. Same thing with the scaling one. 7.5. It's now 15%, so that's better for you if you are running those. No, not a lot of people probably are. Attack speed. Once again, buff. Here's the only like nerf. Is the greater quintessence of lifesteal. Instead of 6%, you get 4.5. But as
80 carries are already weak enough. You don't need to keep smacking them in the face.
It's kind of true, actually. But the offensive mastery feast now restores 3 health instead of 2. So I guess that kind of makes up for it a little bit, but not much. You have less health still.
Yeah.
Deal with it. Masteries, feast, scavenger. Like we just said, feast, slight buff. The other one, they just fixed the thing because the ancient coin and the range of them is now all the same. So actually that's better for you as a support. You just make sure you're not missing out on that gold for scavenger.
It's pretty not
a big thing.
Impactful, yeah.
You might 7 gold later, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
After an entire 40-minute game.
Yeah, 7 gold. Yeah, worth it.
Summer spells.
Exhaust has fallen out of the game. Blah 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 blah. Attack speed reduction. It's not 50% now. It's only 30. But damage debuff. Instead of 30%, it's 50%. Its range is also increased. You can use it slightly sooner. Well, at least range-wise. This could be kind of big. 50% damage debuff. Whew. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So exhaust OP.
So then it'll only take Shyvana 3 hits to kill you instead of just 1.
Look out for it. Heal is the next slight change. What they're going to do with that is the cooldown actually is going to be cheaper, and the heal amount is going back up. It used to be really high. It heals the caster and the allied champions nearest to the caster's cursor instead of directly around it. It removes healing reduction effects on affected champions. New, which is called Crazy Awesome, affected champions gain 30% movement speed for 2 seconds. So it can be
Elimination, watch out.
Yeah, elimination, look out. It can be used as like a massive either like health buff engage or save our lives disengage.
You just pop this and then pop Talisman.
Holy shit. We're coming in.
And on the, what is it?
Mid Raka leads the front line with heal.
Yeah.
Ultimate.
Tank Raka.
Oh my god. Anyways, heal might be better and we might actually see it. Maybe. Originally, heal started getting picked back up when the heal was enormous, and then they nerfed it. So now the heal's back up to enormous again. So 500 health is a lot.
Yeah.
So heal might be back. Ignite. It doesn't
I like
really
this change.
See a change, but this is a cool change actually. It now grants vision if the target is, ignited.
If they're burning alive.
Yeah, basically. They're basically saying, if someone's on fire, you should be able to see that, which I do agree. You should. Slight change to barrier. Just from feedback from people, the visuals are different. Soft white instead of gold.
Gold made my eyes burn.
Did it?
Popped it, yeah.
Oh.
It was ridiculous.
Oh, well then that is slightly different. And those are changes to Summoner spells. Summoner's Rift, this is actually interesting. Dragon has less damage now, but he's got better bonus armor and magic resist, and his current health damage is also scaling better, and his damage debuff is 20% off now, but he doesn't have the attack speed slow.
He's going to be pretty tough to take, I feel.
And the reason behind this, earlier it will be a little bit tougher. Luckily, you won't lose that attack speed, so that will help out a little bit. That was one of the more annoying things when fighting him, is you lose your attack speed, because he had a built-in red buff, essentially. But now, I think the reason behind this is, besides late game, but yeah, they're saying mid to late game champions do enough damage, they don't need to worry about it. It's a low-risk objective, and he's worth as much gold as Baron late game. So it makes sense to make him slightly tougher as the game scales. But it's not going to probably worry him too much. It'll just make dragon fights easier to contest if they happen late game.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting, because if they got to get the numbers right. If he's scaling too hard, it's going to be like a mute point to even take dragon.
Yeah.
Contested.
Yeah.
So. We'll see.
After level 14, 13, 14, 12, 13, 14, whenever. Probably even earlier.
When does how long is the damage debuff the same as the attack speed slow?
Yeah.
Okay.
20%.
Well, I mean, like, is it the same at duration?
I don't know. I have no idea. Doesn't say.
So.
But basically, as the game continues, Baron is your focus point for setting up plays, like engaging the enemy team. It shifts from early game Dragon to late game Baron. I think now this, not completely, but will actually move a little bit more emphasis off of Baron, just a little bit, because it'll be easier to contest a Dragon late game. So
I think they should give Dragon like a little mini buff. Like Baron, you get all this stuff, and like if you kill Dragon, your whole team gets.
I don't think you need that.
10 movement speed or some just like little mini buff.
The problem with that is then it would actually reveal Dragon Timer.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think it needs one. Oh, that's the end. An hour later. Longest patch notes yet. But we knew this was actually going to be a really long one because this is the most involved patch notes. As I said, this is mid-season patch, which is always longer because they're willing to make big changes and then tweak afterwards as the season continues. So,
well, they come out with this now, and so it won't be in LCS until Summer Split, correct?
Yeah, they won't technically use
they always
this
wait
for a
2
while.
weeks. Yeah, so they can come out with this and have the entire break before Summer Split actually happens. So all of this stuff can get ironed out by that time, I feel.
Yeah, that's true. So they'll have a little bit of time to play around with it. Obviously, this changes certain metas a little bit, and everybody always looks to high rank and LCS for what's big, what's happening. So
what's strong.
We have to let them play around with it before they just jump into competitive play. Because Gragas probably won't be mid as much. He might actually become a topper, like Rise or something. Who knows? Or a crazy damage support. Oh, he's gonna become a damage support.
Oh God, please no.
Okay, anyways, that's going to happen. But that's been patch notes, obviously, for 4.5. Hopefully you guys learned something. If not, I'm sorry, and you've just wasted an hour of your life. But whatever. Worse things have happened. You've wasted worse time losing games in League. Don't forget to, obviously, check out content on both Bonus Content's channel, which is Kyle, and on my channel, which you should do that anyways.
How would you be here?
Yeah, yeah. Somebody shared it on Reddit and it got huge. JK, it's not happening. Top comment: who is this faggot? Welcome to the internet. Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the internet. Anyways, that has been patch notes. Everything you need to know is down in the description as always. But until next time, we'll just see you guys later.